Hi, and welcome back. Corey Hicks here, and in today's intermediate level lesson, I'm going to share with you something that has had a profound effect on many of my students over the past 20 years. If you're someone that seems to get lost on the fingerboard, you can't seem to visualize where the notes are, or maybe you don't know how to connect patterns, today's lesson is for you. I'm going to have a lot of PDFs and things available on my Patreon from this lesson, so you can go over there. That stuff's in the description below. But basically what we're going to be talking about today is connecting patterns and learning how to diagram them on fretboard paper. If you can't diagram it, you don't know it. So let's get started. So you've heard me talk about diagramming our scales and how effective that can be. So I also say if you can't diagram it, you don't know it. So we need to be able to write out on fretboard paper our scales. So for today, we're doing this G major key example, and our chord progression was D major to C major to G major. You can look at this a couple of different ways. You can look at it as a 5 chord, going to a 4 chord, going to a 1 chord in the key of G. Or if you want to tonicize, that is make D mixolydian home, it would be 1, which is D, going to C, which is going to be our flat 7 major, going to G, which is going to be the 4 chord in D mixolydian. Both are totally valid approaches. You just pick what works best for you. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start off here on pattern 1 of G major, okay? Now, we're not going to call these the modal names because that's going to get a little bit confusing, okay, because the first pattern of G major can be a synonym to any of the modes in the key, right? It can be pattern 7 of A Dorian or pattern 6 of B Phrygian. So we want to just call them the pattern names for now until we get more familiar with it. So I'm just going to start. So the 3rd fret is G, right? And so I'm going to start writing out this pattern, and what you're going to do is you're going to practice this until you can get fairly quick at it. You know, this is one of the reasons why I tell students, hey, you should probably teach guitar, because that's going to help you to synthesize all this information and be able to deliver it quickly. All right, so this is pattern 1 that we have up there. Now I'm going to go to pattern 2, lowercase Roman numeral, because it's a minor mode, right, or minor pattern. Starting on A, B, C, D, E, F sharp, G, A, B, C, D, E, F sharp, G, A, B, and C. So that's our second pattern of the major scale. You can actually see here how everything kind of lines up, okay? And so really what you're doing when you're learning this second pattern, if you can see it here, is you're really just learning these extra notes. Right, so pattern 2 is just adding this because you have those, everything at the 5th fret and the 7th fret there. Okay, all right. Sorry for hitting the camera there. All right, so moving on to pattern 3, also a minor mode for Phrygian, although we're not thinking about that right now. That's going to line up with the 3rd note of our G major scale. Okay, so starting on B, C, D, E, F sharp, G, A, B, C, D, E, F sharp, G, A, B, C, and D. Okay, so that's our pattern 3 in the key of G major. Notice again how everything lines up because these are all the exact same notes. So the only notes I'm putting on this sheet of paper are going to be G, A, B, C, D, E, and F sharp. Nothing else is going to be present, okay? All right, so moving on to pattern 4, which is a major mode of Lydian. I'm starting on the 4th note, so you'll find it here. This is going to be the note C, so the fourth note of the G major is C, G, A, B, C. And I'm going to be writing out this fourth pattern. So C, D, E, F sharp, G, A, B. And then we have our C, and then D, E, F sharp, G, A, B, C, D, and E. Okay, so that's our pattern 4. Notice again, everything's lining up. The gap is still there. Those 3 in a row, everything is lined up. Okay, moving on to pattern number 5. Now this is going to start on the note D because that's the 5th note of a G major scale. Okay, and I'm just going to write out the scale in this location. So D, E, F sharp, G, A, B, C, D, E, F sharp, G, A, B, C, D, E, and F sharp. That's why that pattern looks that way. It's because of those notes in that location, right? It couldn't be anything else, right? This dot here has to be there because that's F sharp, and we can't have an F natural in the key of G. Okay, moving on to pattern 6. This is going to start on the 6th scale degree of the key of G major, which is the note E. And so I'm going to write it here, E, F sharp, G, A, B, C, D, E, F sharp, G, A, B, C, D, E, F sharp, and G. Okay, you will notice that is the natural minor scale. Okay, and then finally, and actually, you know what? We could have this in the open position here, right? We could do something like that if we wanted to and make it the open position E Aeolian or G major pattern 6 thing down there. We could do that. You want to get familiar with that so that you are familiar with the open position. 7th mode of a major key is locrian or diminished. So we're going to be starting on the 7th note. Now again, I could start here on the F sharp and move up that way, certainly. But you know, I kind of look at the neck as this like escalator, right? So it comes back to the beginning. So I'm starting here at the 2nd fret, F sharp, G, A, B, C, D, E, F sharp, G, A, B, C, D, E, F sharp, G, and A. Okay, so now we have our completed major scale for the key of G major. Okay, and so I like to see students be able to write this out in a fairly quick fashion so that they can find everything. You know, if you can't do it fast, you really aren't going to be able to do it in an improvisation on a gig or a jam session, right? So this is something that you can do when you are, maybe you're going on a plane trip for work, or maybe you're just bored sitting in your rocking chair. I don't know. But this is something that you can do without your guitar that is still guitar practice. Okay, so now we're going to move on to probably the most important thing is how to see and visualize this in a linear fashion, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pick this middle one here so it's the easiest to see. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to write out pattern 1 again. This is G major still, of course. Okay, so I'm writing out pattern 1. And I want you to see how these all connect. Okay, so this is pattern 1 that starts here. Pattern 2 starts on the 2nd note of the major scale. And so all I do is add that, and I have the whole thing, right? Here is pattern 3. All I do is add those notes, and I have all of pattern 3. Here's pattern 4. All I do is add a couple notes here, and I have all of pattern 4. Here's the 5th note of the major scale. All I add is this, side of the scale, and then I have all of pattern 5. Here's pattern 6. All I do is add that side, and I have all of pattern 6. And here, 7th note starts right there. Make sure I'm not messing you up here. And there you go. There's all of pattern 7. So this is all of G major. This is all of A Dorian. This is all of B Phrygian. This is all of C Lydian. This is all of D Mixolydian. This is all of E Aeolian. And this is all of F sharp Locrian. This is the secret to playing across the neck. You have to be able to visualize all of these different chord scales as one thing. Now, of course, if I'm playing an A Dorian, I'm looking at this set of notes, but I'm thinking of A's as my roots, right? If I'm thinking of D mixed Lydian, I'm thinking of my D's as my roots. But it's all the same notes. And this is how so many professional players are able to play across the neck, and it seems almost like magic, but it's not. So if you write this out for every key, you are going to get really good at visualizing the neck. Okay? One last thing I do want to show you before I quit for today. I'm going to go back to the 7 individual patterns, and what I'm going to do is show you how these pentatonics work. Okay? So you've heard me say that, like, Dorian is a pentatonic, and you can actually see that here, so because it's minor, right? Look at that. Isn't that a minor pentatonic on the inside of the second pattern? Yeah. What about the third pattern? Look at this. This is all just a minor pentatonic. You know this shape. You can play this shape, right? All you're being asked to do is add just a few notes in. Actually, it's just 2 notes in a couple of different spots, right? Because that's B, that's C. You're adding C up there, right? So, yeah. And then we come down to so we're doing this for the minor modes. Here's 6. Check this out. And you've probably used this before if you've played any classic rock solos. Pattern 6 as Aeolian. Okay? So these things are inside of those patterns. If you ever wondered how guys like Eric Johnson or Joe Bonamassa play these really fast ascending and descending passages using pentatonics, they're layering these pentatonics on top of each other. Now, each one of these has 5 different positions. So you have essentially 15 pentatonic patterns inside of your 7 major scales. Okay, so all this paper you can download as PDFs on my Patreon. So if this stuff is helpful, go over to my Patreon. I'll have a link in the description below, and you can take a look at all of these diagrams for the various keys and modes, and I'll have some blank fretboard paper over there for you to use as well. Okay. Well, I hope this has been helpful. Please like, share, and subscribe. Thank you guys for being with me here on YouTube, and I will see you next time. Peace.